want to start off this video by saying that if your game has witch in the title, or involves witches in some positive way, I'm obligated to play it. It was one of the agreements I made when I signed up to be an apprentice potato witch way back in 1773. So I mean, it should come as no surprise that I started playing the newly released Little Witch in the Woods. Developed and published by the two-person South Korean dev team Sunny Side Up, Little Witch in the Woods is currently in early access and is about, well, being a little witch in the woods. You play as Ellie, an apprentice witch on her way to the witch's house in the city of Hylian. Higalion? I'm gonna go with Hylian, it sounds cooler. Ellie is a sassy little chaos child who seems to revel in the thought of mayhem and danger, but she's not really a bad person. Just one of those people who craves excitement and probably didn't get enough of it in her life. So she's on a long train ride to Hylian when suddenly the train makes an unexpected stop, likely to remain stranded until morning, so Ellie figures she has plenty of time to climb a mountain and look for a huge shining tree she saw in the distance. Yep, seems reasonable. In her nighttime explorations, Ellie and her talking hat Virgil not only find the shiny tree, but also a small witch house in the woods, hence the name of the game. Ellie spends the rest of her night there and so misses the train the next morning, but you know, she decides that maybe she didn't want to spend the next 3 years in a witch apprenticeship. Maybe she'd be much happier squatting in an abandoned hut and making friends with the local forest life. Okay, that's honestly doing the idea a bit of a disservice. For one thing, while the hut is abandoned, it's cozy and clean, and contains a basement workshop where Ellie can make potions from the things she gathers in the surrounding woods. And there seems to be a strange overgrowth of evil prickly vines that are resistant to being killed, vines that overtook an entire village until only a few people remained. Ellie decides that what she wants more than anything else is to stay there and help return the village to its former glory, bring people back and make it thrive once more. And if she happens to get in conversations with dragons or throw explosives at plant life while she does so, then hey, even better. But maybe don't do that in the middle of the night. Seriously, this game seems to love its nighttime scenes, and that wouldn't be a problem if it wasn't for the fact that some of those scenes involve stuff like, hey, look over there, all those houses have been ruined by giant thorny vines, see that? No, I don't see that. It's frickin' nighttime. It's dark. That's a blobby blob pile to me right now. Maybe we should save this conversation for a more dayish part of the day, Really early on, Little Witch in the Woods presents itself as a really wholesome game, with chill music and a good sense of humor. You don't have to play for too long before you get a sense that even if Ellie is rambunctious, she has a good heart. Even if she craves the unpredictability of adventure, she really does want to improve the village and the villagers who live there. And I'm completely here for that kind of vibe. I'm definitely the sort of person who can easily lose themselves in a game where most of my time is spent exploring and looking for new resources and materials and crafting new things along the way. Hell, that's one of the big reasons I love farming life sims so much. Give me a cozy little home in the forest and let me pick plants and, squeeze these rabbite-looking things here for their fur, and I can be a pretty happy little potato. Bonus points for the really cute art style that this game embraces. I mean, Ellie alone is charming, but have you freaking seen Rubrum? And then when he does the sparkly eyes thing, I just died. Right now. This is my ghost talking. My ghost will now be handling the rest of this video because this little fox child killed me with those freaking adorable eyes. Now, part of doing game reviews involves being completely honest, and Little Witch in the Woods isn't without its flaws. I will, however, give it some credit and benefit of the doubt because it is still in early access, and it is still being updated and patched by the developers. So for all I know, a week after I make this video, absolutely nothing I say will be relevant anymore. Heck, that almost already happened. The first day I played it, I made a note of Ellie's really slow movement speed. I played it again the next day and found that due to player feedback, her speed had been increased. This is exactly what early access is meant to be. Stuff is going to be in flux, and I acknowledge that. First, and let me get this out of the way right now, is that the English isn't the greatest. It's extremely understandable in all but a few areas, and even those areas I can sort of twist my brain and figure it out, but that's also because I grew up watching fan subs of bootleg anime, so those pathways are pretty well formed in my brain. But there are a lot of places where the phrasing comes off as awkward. Not like it was machine translated, but more like it was written by someone whose native language isn't English. And, I mean, it wasn't. So, that's understandable. But it's something I'd love to see polished up by the time it fully releases. It's weird, I know, but this sort of thing can give the impression of a game being poor quality, even if it isn't. And frankly, I want to see Little Witch in the Woods succeed. It's got a lot of potential, and I want to see more people play it and appreciate it without having language get in the way. As someone with a side gig of freelance proofreading and editing, I know all too well how big a role this can play in people's perceptions. There are also some just weird moments in this game. There's an early scene where Ellie encounters a talking crow that tells her about something called the Witch's Catalog, where she can buy and sell things for her potions, and to use it she should speak to a Witch's Catalog employee. The employee who just shows up later outside of Ellie's cottage. So there's an entire cutscene that essentially breaks down to, there'll be a store later. Yeah, thanks, I definitely needed to take a few minutes to read all that dialogue that was later just recapped by the employee anyway. I mean, the crow was cute, and I love crows, but that seemed like just such a pointless scene. Speaking of pointless, there was also the part where a mandatory quest led me to a tutorial for throwing potions at things to activate their effects. This would probably have been less pointless, however, had the tutorial come before I already had to do that twice to advance the story to the point where I could even access that tutorial in the first place. There's also no key rebinding, so that kinda sucks. See, Little Witch in the Woods definitely has a boatload of potential, and it's a game I can see myself enjoying a lot in the future too, but there are parts of it that don't feel like they've been super well thought out. Or perhaps, maybe since it's still in early access, it's a case of things being left over from previous builds, when maybe that potion throwing tutorial would have appeared before you ever needed to throw a potion at all. Maybe that'll be fixed in the game's final build. I can't say for sure. Right now, there's only about 5 hours of gameplay for Little Witch in the Woods, with more to come in the future. And for all that it has some problems, they're nothing that can't be tweaked and smoothed out as development rolls along. Would I like to have more game available to me right now? Heck yeah, I would. I love the premise of this game. I love games with resource gathering and crafting, and I love the adorable pixel graphics. Plus, that soundtrack is one I could just stick on in the background and relax to any day. Is it worth buying on Steam even though it's early access and has some not insignificant problems? Honestly, I would say yes. Unlike some games that go into early access as some sort of excuse to release an unfinished build, which the devs then drop once the money's done rolling in, the team behind Little Witch in the Woods seems really committed to continuing improving the game, adding new content and fixing old issues, and even in the few days since launch, already the game has seen improvements. So if you're interested in the game, then go ahead and get it when you can. Support the devs in making an awesome, adorable witchy life sim game, and take some time out of your day to just wander around some pixely woods and take in the beautiful scenery.